Off in the last feed, this will be the second series, the second part of Daniel chapter 4. We left off at verse 23, I believe. Yeah, 23. So we'll begin from there. Let's just go ahead and let the Spirit lead us here and guide us on this Calvary Chapel channel. You, O King, saw a messenger, a holy one, coming down from heaven and saying, cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump bound with iron and bronze in the grass of the field while its roots remain in the ground. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live like the wild animals until 7 times pass by for him. This is the interpretation, O King. This is the decree the Most High has issued against my Lord, the King. You will be driven away from people. You will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives them to anyone he wishes. This is the actual interpretation of the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. Daniel is interpreting for him. The command to leave the stump of tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. So, this is the most difficult lesson here, that God is sovereign. He is above all things. Above us, He limits the power, the authority of all kingdoms, governments, rule, hardships. What do you have? Monarchies, democracies, republics. God is sovereign over all. Even Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar's not limited. Okay. You gotta know about Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar ruled a long time. Since the book of Jeremiah. Okay. We're still reading about him in Daniel. At first, Nebuchadnezzar was working for God as a contractor. And then because God used them to wipe out, Jews in Israel. Okay, in a sense, he was like a little Hitler that God used. Okay, now he's become more tyrannical by the second here, forgetting the God of Israel that gave him his power. So Daniel, one of his prophets, God's prophets, like, you better recognize the God of Israel. Okay, I understand you are king of Babylon, but you better recognize that this is what happens when you become tyrannical and forget about him. You're gonna be pretty much dethroned. Okay, he's gonna banish you to the fields, to the wild animals, as we read right here. That's what it says. Verse 28 is where we left off. If you want to follow along, I'm in the NIV again here. The command to leave the stump of tree with its root means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. Okay, we read that again. Well, actually, we're on 27. I'm sorry. See my memory. With all these technical difficulties, the devil's trying to make me forget my place here. But God is able, though. The thing is, look, the heaven rules. That's something that should be highlighted in your Bible. Heaven rules. In my Bible, I highlight things that, stick out to me. That's something I need to highlight today after we do this session here. So we can tell ourselves that, in this world we live in, there's going to be, rulers and men and authority figures, but the ultimate big honcho, the numero uno, is actually the God of heaven. He's actually the King of all kings. Verse 27, therefore, O King, be pleased. Be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. And it may be that then your prosperity will continue. All this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, is not this the great Babylon? I have built it as a royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty. The words were still on his lips when a voice came from heaven. This is what his decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You'll be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge the Most High as sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives them to anyone he wishes. There again, God repeats himself in the scriptures. Reading it a repeat here. Tell me. The thing is, it's because Nebuchadnezzar kind of has, a hard time believing this. Daniel is a Class A prophet of God, besides Ezekiel and Jeremiah that we read before in the previous chapters. Okay, Daniel is not just a prophet of God; he's an interpreter. Okay, he's also, unlike Ezekiel was a street preacher. Okay, there's different occupations there. They both work for God, however, and so Nebuchadnezzar's like, what are you talking about, Daniel? I don't want to hear this, okay? He's like, what? What do you mean I'm going to be thrown with the wild animals in the woods? I'm the freaking king of Babylon, man. How dare you tell me something like that? And this is the real interpretation, though. This is what the dream really meant. Obviously, Nebuchadnezzar's hard-headed in a sense. He doesn't want to hear it. He's kind of hard-headed. Some people are hard-hearted. Nebuchadnezzar's like hard-headed, hard of hearing. He doesn't want to hear this. It's like, you're giving me a headache, Daniel. Really, you're giving me a headache. I'm about to feed you to the lions, okay? You keep it up. And that's exactly what happens, right? Remember later on, I hate to spoil it for you guys, but later on we read about how Nebuchadnezzar decides to throw Daniel in the pit of lions, in the cave of lions. It turns out the lions were actually Daniel's friends. God made the lions nice, made them really, really, So, the lions became this famous story of Daniel and the lion's den. Okay, we'll be read about that later. Okay, let's go ahead and finish chapter 4 here. He is driven away from people, and the grass like cattle. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle, and his nails like the claws of a bird. At the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my hand towards heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. Now let's go ahead and rewind here to chapter 2 or chapter 3? Where Nebuchadnezzar threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into a freaking oven that burned steel. Remember that? Like I said, he's a little Hitler. Nebuchadnezzar is really a little Hitler. He hasn't forgotten his tyrannical ways. Besides Nebuchadnezzar, most of the kings of Israel were, they were pretty much, tyrants. You had Pharaoh in the book of Deuteronomy, Exodus, Lamentations, Moses. Moses had to deal with Pharaoh, and King Herod later on, tried to kill Jesus, baby Jesus. He was killing all the firstborns, just like Pharaoh was killing the firstborns of Moses' kind. So one was in the Old Testament and one was in the New Testament. Okay, there are other tyrants in the Bible besides Nebuchadnezzar. But the difference about Nebuchadnezzar is he used to be, aligned with God. Okay, so it just tells us that none of us are kind of like immune to, attacks as far as being Christians from tyrannical people. Okay, we might, as a matter of fact, your life might even be harder because you became a Christian. You're going to be attacked by tyrants of your age. This is a fair warning to all saints of God here. Okay, we're going to be treated like the Jews, in a sense, what happened to the Jews in 1930 and 40 in Germany, where they were treated a certain way, right? We know what happened there. We ain't got to elaborate on that one. Okay, it might happen to you because you chose Jesus Christ as your God. You adopted the Jewish custom. Whatever it is, you're not even your culture no more. You're actually Jewish now. Love it or hate it. I choose to embrace it. Okay? If your God is Jesus Christ, Yeshua, you're Jewish. God adopts you in His kingdom. Okay? We are the Jews of the 21st century. And some people deny that part. Oh, I'm not Jewish, even though my God is a Jew. I'm an American. Oh, there you go. Yeah, American Gentiles. We don't recognize Jewish writings or philosophies. Just like the Jews who don't recognize Jesus Christ, Yeshua. You know what I'm saying? Go figure that one out. Okay? But it's better to embrace your newfound faith, your new culture. It's better just to go ahead and take in and celebrate. And, even go to Israel if you can, a couple weeks on vacation just to see the Holy Land, my church does a lot of things in Israel, by the way, so they go there a lot, actually. It's good to embrace these things of your new Christian faith. And going on here, let's go and finish these verses, and we'll do chapter 5 another day. We left off at 34, I think, right? Or was it 35? Let's just do 34. At the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes towards heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified Him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the people of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as He pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back His hand or say to Him, "What have you done?" At the same time that my sanity was restored and my honor and splendor were returned to me for the glory of my kingdom, my advisors and nobles sought me out as I was restored to my throne and became even greater than before. Now, I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything He does is right and all His ways are just, and those who walk in pride He is able to humble. Now, God repeats Himself the same verses. I don't know why He did it. He keeps repeating Himself, and it feels like we're just reading the same verses over and over again, but we're actually not. We're just reading the One second here, man. They keep messing with my computer. Pop-up ads. What the hell is this? One second, y'all. Let me sign off the web here for a second. A lot of spiders on the web right now. Speaking of the devil, you know, you got to deal with pop-up ads. It's alright. Excuse the pop-up ads here. I try to make them go away, but like the demons that they are, you know, they keep popping up. So we destroy demons here, though, in the name of Jesus Christ, by the way. So you demons keep coming at us, keep being obliterated in the name of Yeshua. That's good. So God is going to make you a, you know, a class A saint of His. You're going to be able to tackle and take on demons through these tyrannical rulers. Okay, so Nebuchadnezzar tried to melt Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but it turned out his men melted instead. Remember that? Three people in the oven. Okay, an angel showed up in the oven with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they're like, "I thought we threw 3 people in the oven. I see 4. What is going on?" You know, I don't know. The guards are like, "We don't know who the 4th one is." And it was actually an angel of God that was there to, you know, protect those 3 men that were thrown into the oven. So, after all that terrifying experience, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the oven without a scratch on their head. See that? Class A saints of God will be preserved, protected by His power. Even after that, Nebuchadnezzar didn't learn his lesson. Became hard-hearted, just like Pharaoh with Moses. Okay? So what happened? Why are you comparing Pharaoh to Nebuchadnezzar? Well, they're in a sense similar, right? I mean, what happened? Well, the difference is, I don't think plagues hit Babylon just like they hit Egypt. Pharaoh had to deal with plagues after plagues. Plagues after plagues, man. Okay? And, you know, it took all these plagues for Pharaoh to be like, "Alright, I'm going to leave Moses alone. I had enough. Moses, I'll leave you alone if you go ahead and make these plagues go away, these frogs go away, these locusts go away." Moses is like, "Deal. Leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. You mess with me, the God of Israel is gonna get with you." Okay, straight up. he's gonna deal with you. I ain't gonna deal with you. I'm gonna send the God of Israel to deal with you fools. I'm gonna sit back and eat popcorn and smile as the God of Israel does things to you mysteriously. All right? I mean, it's up to you how you wanna play and deal these cards here. Just know that we hold all the aces. Okay? We hold all the angels here of God. You want to play with us? We're going to send an angel. It might be an angel of death, just like what happened in the book of Exodus with the plague. The angel of death came and took out every freaking one around that didn't have the blood on their doorposts. Okay. The same thing with Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, for some reason, doesn't want to acknowledge God's power. He still wants to test God, okay? Even after seeing an angel rescuing these 3 men in the oven. Okay, this oven was not your kitchen-sized oven. It was the size of a freaking, like, room. It was meant to make steel and metals, right? They threw these 3 men in there. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay? And God preserved these saints of God because that's what He's going to do. So, let's see how Nebuchadnezzar deals with it. And we'll do chapter 5 another day. I think that's it. I don't think I missed anything here. I think I covered it all. Let's see if I miss anything. You think about Nebuchadnezzar, he was not mentioned in the book of Ezekiel at all. Only once that we read about him. Lamentations, you know, and he wasn't mentioned. Like, he disappeared in Lamentations, and he appeared one time, only or once or twice in Ezekiel, and that was it. We're like, what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? Now he's in Daniel, okay, the book of Daniel. So, where was he at all those years? That's a question mark. We don't know. Let's ask the great Bible scholars. Where was Nebuchadnezzar? What was he doing? Was he in hibernation? You know? Now all of a sudden he's the king of Babylon in the book of Daniel. I don't think he was the king of Babylon in the book of Ezekiel, however. So, you know, but God used Nebuchadnezzar, even though he's a tyrant, in some good way. See, the thing about God, he can use anybody, no matter who it is. No matter what language you speak, he can use anybody. Just like he used King Cyrus, another king. Okay? We'll get to King Cyrus another later day. Let's stick to Nebuchadnezzar for now. So Nebuchadnezzar is he going, the pendulum is swinging. Is he going to swing for God, or he's going to swing for himself? It's swinging right now. He doesn't know what to make to think of these translations, you know, talking about, you know, he's going to be thrown into with the wild animals here, you know. So we're going to have to wait, and well, we'll do chapter 5 another day. You guys have a God blessed one. I'm your host, Soshi, with this Calvary Chapel channel. I'm out for now. You guys stay blessed, my friends.